Welcome to our first episode of What's Brewing with Humble Joe's Coffee Company. During this time, we will discuss and drink great coffee, all while getting to know our special guest of honor. Dan Robison is our guest of honor today. Dan is a director at the Jackson County Chamber. He is also running to serve as Mayor of Seymour, where he lives with his wife, Tacinda. Dan has 3 boys, Chandler, Owen, and Nolan. He usually drinks about 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. Sounds like our type of guy. Can't wait to sit and chat with Dan. Looking forward to it. Hey guys, we're here in our roastery at Humble Joe's Coffee, and with our first episode of What's Brewing with Humble Joe's Coffee, we have special guest Dan here. Talk a little bit about what he's doing and some projects he's working on, and then Corey, the Aeropress extraordinaire. He's going to make us a cup of coffee. We got some of our Columbia blend out here, and we're just going to taste it, talk, and chat. So welcome. I'm glad you guys are here.
Yeah, thanks for having me out.
Very good. Corey, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about the Aeropress. I think this is your go-to method of making coffee. Tell us why you love it and how you do it, and then start making us some. We'll try it out, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything, right? You just need some pressure and heat, and that's what the Aeropress provides in spades. I like it because it's very forgiving or it's very exacting, depending on your personality. So I've already pre-ground the coffee. All you're going to do, I do the inverted method, which is just upside down for people that don't know. And
what, you're inverted or the press is?
This is like Maverick, right?
I would like to get interesting.
I would like to see.
It's going to be a cool trick. I hope we can get all this on camera. So anyway, I've already pre-ground it. This little GSI grinder. I love it, but they've just changed the design, so I'm not a big fan of it now. The new style. Got our water over here at 194. Look at that, man. It's like you expected me. And just go ahead and just get everything nice and sludgy. Somebody inevitably will tell me that I'm doing this wrong because everybody has their own way of doing it. So
I've never seen this method before, so this is super cool.
Well, so right now what's happening is the coffee is steeping. We put the hot water in there, it's steeping, just like it does in your, I don't know how you usually do it. We'll find out later, I know. But if you do it like a drip coffee machine, it's forcing that hot water through all those grounds. Right now, this is actually giving it time to steep in there, and I do it at such a strength that I don't let it sit for very long before I stir it up. That sludge that's in there, it gets kind of fun looking.
So like Corey's kind of introduced this to me. Grind size, usually recommend like a coarse to fine. Bigger than table salt a little. Is that what you'd recommend?
Of course, like table salt, depending on the style you're using. And apparently I do it completely different than what the coffee shops do it.
That's the beauty of coffee. You fix it how you like it.
Yeah.
That's what
It's an art, not a science.
So yeah, this is my go-to brew method every morning. I also do, right now it's like expelling the gases still, right? So it's, what do they call it? Off-gassing, I guess, yeah. And then I don't really have an exact measurement I go by anymore because I do it all kind of just by sight.
So while that's brewing there, Dan, let's just take a look. As far as you and coffee, like why do you drink coffee, or what is your most memorable experience in just like everyday coffee?
I think the reason that I'm a coffee drinker probably goes back to my grandfather on my mom's side. He was a coffee drinker. My parents were a little bit, but not like faithfully, but he was a faithful coffee drinker, but he didn't like hot coffee. So he would brew the coffee and he would actually drink it with a cup and saucer, and he would pour coffee out onto the saucer and actually drink it off of the saucer.
Oh, wow.
Because it allowed it to cool faster. So kind of weird. I don't do that. I didn't pick up that part of it, but he's the reason I started drinking coffee. Probably the most memorable coffee experience for me was when we were in St. Lucia for our honeymoon. We went on this excursion, like with everybody else, and we got out to this island where we were going to hang out for a while, but it was like mid-morning, like 10:30, and they had coffee made for us, and I think they just poured some sweet condensed milk in it, so I had a little bit of sweetness, but that was like a memorable cup of coffee, and I think St. Lucia with all the volcanoes and stuff, I guess it does something with the soil, but it was like a memorable cup of coffee for sure.
Very neat. What about like daily basis? What do you drink?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
Join the club.
Yeah, I'm a pretty basic guy. Yeah. You're on that program too?
Yeah, I know exactly what that is.
I'm pretty basic. I do the drip coffee maker in the morning. I'm pretty basic. But, we have the Keurig as well. And then I have an espresso machine. So our kitchen in the corner there, we have like a little coffee setup there of all the things. And so, but yeah, it's usually a couple cups in the morning, usually one midday and one afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock typically. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
Corey, what about you? Do you drink all day long or just 1 or 2 cups to get you going?
And I try to stop occasionally, like at noon.
Yeah.
Because somebody told me, like a CrossFit coach or somebody told me, oh, it stays there. It's like a half-life of X amount of hours. But honestly, my first cup, I wait about 2 hours after waking up. So about 5, 6 o'clock, I start having coffee. And I try to stop about noon. I might have an energy drink in there somewhere too.
So now that's interesting. You wait a couple hours. Is that something, when you were in the military, is that something that you did then, or is that just carried you through to now?
Didn't even drink a whole lot of coffee in the military. It was just like recently, or not recently I started drinking, but it's just recently I started dialing it back. I've read an article about how your natural, not
Serotonin.
Yeah, your natural serotonin levels or something. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it gets in there and it says basically give it time to kick in because you're giving your body something you don't need yet. It's like, okay, so that's what I've tried to do, but sometimes I just really like the ritual of having that coffee right off the bat.
Yeah, I understand. I wake up, I make the coffee, and within the first half an hour we're drinking. And it's all day long. The kids at school just make fun. Are you really drinking coffee? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, yeah, I am. So it's all right. But that's probably
it's not even because I feel like I need the caffeine even. It's just I love the experience of coffee. The flavor is just my go-to. I love it.
Well, I tasted it. I think it's pretty good. It's smooth. I don't think it's too strong. I think you got the ratio right.
Okay.
Just by eyeballing it and just kind of playing with it. But
That's really good.
Cool.
Yeah, that's top notch.
This guy's coffee.
This is our Colombian, and it has a little bit higher acidity. Tasting notes: cherry, honey, and red apple. It's not like your standard like dark, deep chocolate coffee. It's more of a fruitiness, higher acidity. But recently, which is nice, I have the luxury. I just walk out and pick out whatever coffee I want to drink during the day. I've been drinking this the past couple of weeks, and I really like it.
Yeah,
so
it's really good.
Cool. Let's move on to the next question here. Get a little personal. What is your proudest moment personally? And then we'll go on to what's your proudest moment professionally.
Personally, it has to be when my boys were born.
Oh, yeah.
No question. My oldest son, Chandler, just turned 26 last week. Yeah, I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
Who knew?
I didn't want to say it, but
yeah,
congratulations.
It's true. Yeah, he just turned 26 last week. He lives in Florida. And then my younger son, Owen, lives here with us. He's 22. So got to be when those guys were born. That's just like super proud moment for sure.
Yeah. What about professionally?
Professionally had to be, when I lived in Florida, I was a Walmart store manager and actually had the opportunity to open a brand new store in the Clearwater market. And it takes a lot of work to get a Walmart store open, months and months of construction and then getting the store ready, training associates, hiring a bunch of people and stuff. But that moment when I walked in and the first transaction went through and my name printed on the receipt, that was a cool moment. That was a proud moment. It's kind of a bad thing though, because then they know who you are. And so, if they find a soft spot on an apple or whatever, they know who to go to. True. But that's a super proud moment. Worked really hard for that.
And absolutely, that's your fault.
Of course
that
it is.
Soft spot on that apple is probably your fault.
Actually, I had a lady one time complain because the sweet potatoes in the store smelled like dirt.
Wash them.
Yeah.
Don't you just wash them before you eat
them? Well,
them?
they're grown, in the ground, so they're probably going to smell like dirt.
I've been to Dunedin several times. Have some family live in Safety Harbor, so we used to go fishing at the Causeway.
Yeah.
So I love going.
I used to kayak out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great community.
Cool. Public service. So you've been in public service down in Florida, public service here. What is it that drives you to want to be in that field and to work with community?
Yeah, I think my parents unknowingly instilled that in me. I don't remember ever having like a conversation where they set me down and were like, okay, you need to be involved in your community. But just watching them, live their lives, how they were involved with church. My mom did volunteer work like with Anchor House here in Seymour. And so I think they just kind of modeled that for me. So I think I just know that, I'm supposed to be a contributor, in life. And so as an adult, that's just what I've done. So, Yeah, I love being involved. I can't imagine not being, connected to whatever community I'm living in and serving and giving back. So
You do some stuff with the church, right?
yeah, we go to the point.
Yep.
And so love being involved there. We have a small group that meets in our home a couple times a month, and that's always a good time.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I love being engaged.
Cool. Now, Corey, professionally, maybe not as much as a public servant, but you do some things on the side, help out with young Marines. What are some things you've done in the past?
What are some things I've done in the past? Well, yeah, absolutely.
Not those things.
Yeah,
the other things.
Let's not go too deep here. Some things I'm not proud of. We'll talk about that. Maybe get rid of it. No, there's obviously volunteer staff for young Marines. Just about a year into that, and it's a great group. Honestly, I love watching the kids come in, do their thing, seeing how they climb up the ladder and all that stuff, and they take on leadership roles. That's a pretty cool thing. Man, I don't know. That's kind of the most recent thing.
How many kids are involved with the young Marines here in town?
I'm trying to think what we have. This is a question for Sean, man. He can tell you for sure. I'm going to say there's like 30 young Marine recruits maybe. And then there's actual young Marines. They do it kind of like military. It's not a military organization at all. It's not prepping them for the military. It's a leadership program.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of kids come in. They go through like the recruit status. And that's, like I said, about 30 kids. And then once they go through that and they do 13 weeks, the next cycle they become young Marines. Well, they become young Marines and they show up as young Marines the next cycle. I want to say we're like in the 70s,
Cool.
Like 70 kids now.
Now, do they do any like service projects as a young
yeah.
Marine? Like what's
Big
one of the
community service,
biggest?
Like they're big into that. Working at local food pantries, a lot of times stocking that, organizing that, clothing drives, things like that. We had a kid that he set out like a little food bank during COVID. He just set it up and he said, hey, if you need something, take something. And he would take donations and he'd set it out in his front yard. And I'm going to mess it up now. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But it's a really cool program, and I think it's Ethan's Table.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Ethan Reynolds. I think it's Ethan's Table, and it's still going. Really cool program. My daughter personally, we walk the road. I like to ruck, so she goes with me. Pick up trash on the road. Just cleaning up the environment. It's not just on a grand scale. It's just whatever environment you're in. Just try to make it better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's good stuff.
Cool. Back to the coffee. It's cooled some. What do you guys taste now? Do you notice any difference? Once coffee cools, it will change, and the flavors should maybe be more present. What do you taste?
I'm getting more of that cherry
Yeah.
kind of aftertaste a little bit
Sweetness.
from it. Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The cherry, definitely in the aftertaste, I can taste that. No
Any
oranges.
any bitterness or just a little? Or sometimes I think people get confused between bitterness and acidity. 'Cause sometimes acidity can taste a little bitter, but when I taste it, I do taste the cherry and maybe the honey. But as it cools, and that's one thing I've learned through this coffee journey is that coffee changes as it cools off.
For sure.
And there's so many nuances that you can just drive yourself crazy trying to figure them all out. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's one thing we've enjoyed doing is just learning.
Well, you notice it too if you let it sit in like a thermos or a tumbler. You let it sit, you come at it and drink it later, it's a totally different cup of coffee. Like it's ever evolving, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you add whiskey to it, it tastes good too sometimes.
Better.
Yeah,
Some would say.
maybe. It could be. Only Folgers. So we're going to wrap it up here and have one more question. You are running for mayor here in May, so that's coming up soon. Tell us about your aspirations to become mayor and then some things you're most excited about.
Yeah. So the primary's coming up here May 2nd. So Seymour being my hometown, super privileged to live here. I've spent some time in Florida, but super excited to be back serving the community and look forward to the opportunity to serving an expanded role potentially as mayor if that's the people's choice when they go to the ballot box on May 2nd. But I think we have opportunities to set and establish new priorities for our community. I think sometimes we get wrapped up in the feel-good things that are good, nothing wrong with that, but I think we have to look at some of the core things that people look to their local government for, so like taking care of the roads and stuff like that. Yeah. We need to kind of get back to some of those priorities. So that's what I intend to do, but we'll see how things work out.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I wish you the best of luck. It's like 5 weeks away.
Yeah, it's
So
getting
that's
here
coming up
quick.
soon.
You're not counting though, right?
No, yes, I'm counting, actually. Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, I bet you I'll have to make sure I'm registered to vote.
Yeah,
We'll see what
absolutely.
happens. Well, for a first episode, I think this was pretty fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I mean, going into this, I was typing notes up about a half an hour ago, figuring out what in the world are we going to talk about. But sitting down, Murphy did a great job with the coffee.
Yeah.
Probably has a lot to do with the bean you were using.
Yeah,
probably.
Where
we get this at?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Humble Joe's. So, thanks for doing that and bringing your stuff. And Dan, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And maybe we'll have another one of these sometime.
Let's do it. Great cup of coffee.
Hey, thank you.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.